Welcome back to AgweekTV. Joining me now is Alex Vasichek, financial advisor and owner of Elevate Financial. Alex, you just wrapped up a panel about succession and estate planning. Go ahead and tell me what some of the key takeaways were.
You know, I think some of the key takeaways in that were a couple things. We talked about 4 big points that are facing farm families right now. You know, one of them is rising interest rates. You know, big one is taxes. Everybody hates taxes, right? And you know, the cornerstone of what's becoming our business, which is succession planning, right? Succession planning is going to be bigger and bigger, especially over the next 5 to 10 years. And then also we talked about estate planning.
What are some of the key takeaways that farmers should think about when they're planning their succession plan?
You know, I think some of the key takeaways that when planning a succession plan is number one, you know, make sure that you get a team together, right? You know, you're going to be talking to your accountant, you're going to be talking to an attorney. You know, get a planner that actually knows how to do it and who's done it before. And there's some agricultural specific ones that really know how to do it.
You mentioned that fair doesn't always mean equal. Can you go ahead and elaborate on that?
Yeah, so fair versus equal is a huge point that we try to make with farm families. Because so often, you know, we'll sit down and the reality is with the American farm right now is most of the value that they own in their estate is tied up into their land, right? So with that being said, you know, the on-farm child needs the land. They've been back generally working there, right? They've been doing all the stuff to help take over the business. And what we feel, and I think what a lot of people feel is that, you know, because that they deserve a larger piece of the assets, right? So, you know, it's when you come to splitting up an estate, you know, it's not exactly equal, but we find it to be fair, and finding that number is important.
When should farmers start thinking about having a succession plan?
You know, what I would say is I think ideally, just when you start looking at a succession plan, 5 to 7 years out, right? When you're looking at about 5 to 7 years, because what we have found is 3 years seems a little short, right? Because there's a lot of assets that have to turn over, and 7 years or in 10 years seems way too long. So 5 to 7 years is kind of the sweet spot that we found.
And what's some advice that you would give farmers that are just starting their estate planning journey?
Number one is good job. Because honestly, starting the journey is the hardest part. It's kind of comical. Once you get in the door, everything kind of starts flowing. You know, the advice that I would have is to make sure to keep an open mind, right? Because there's a lot of different solutions out there. You know, and you don't know exactly which one's going to be right for you. And the other advice that I would have is don't get too hung up on what your neighbors or your parents did, right? Everybody's different, operations operate differently. There's a lot of different ways to go, and just keep an open mind.
Well, it's certainly an important topic. Thank you so much for joining us today, Alex. Alex Vasichek, Elevate Financial. Thanks for watching AgweekTV on YouTube. Make sure to like and subscribe. We put out new videos every Saturday.